Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton. As always, I'm joined by my fellow colleagues in the industry, James Kendall and Ian Story. Lads, how's your week been? Let's not make it a hat-trick, JK. Let's go to you, Ian Story.
Yes. Well, good, really, on the whole, chaps. A little bit light on new listings, but I'm seeing a property developer today who's got £1 million that he's just done up in a really good village, and another one which is like a plot with land where he's got planning for a 6,000 square feet house on it. I reckon I'll probably get both. He's already given me the go-ahead on one. He wants a fee nag on the other, which I'll probably do because it's, why not? And Phil has got a couple of nice little touches, but on the whole, it's been a good week for sales for us. So an offer, we've put two on offers over £1 million in the last few weeks, and we've got offers on both of them yesterday, both above £1 million. I'll definitely tie one of those up. The other one, the seller's been a bit awkward. He wants £1,050,000. I mean, the data said it wasn't $1 million, and I've got him an offer of £1,010,000. So I need to try and work on him and get something accepted. Might get the seller up to £1,020,000, the buyer up to £1,020,000, hopefully, and then try and get the seller to go ahead with that. I think it's a good offer. Phil sold a nice little cottage at £750,000. We had a barn conversion. Oh, it genuinely is a barn conversion.
That really surprises me.
That we put on at 800, sold for 865. The sellers have moved to Canada. The sale fell through last week because the chain broke down, and we have resold it immediately to another buyer without putting it back on the market, but only for 810. But the sellers basically just wants to get rid because they're over in Canada now, so we've sort of kept that sale on track. And then I think I mentioned on the pod last week that we've had two sales sort of come out of nowhere. The second one of those is now tied up. It was about to change agents, and we got a sale agreed right at the last minute. And then a couple of other nice little bits and pieces going on with stuff above $1 million. It's tricky to tie people down to sales. A couple of low offers on stuff above $1 million. We had a low offer on one yesterday. It's on at 1.65. The guy offered 1.375. I mean, he's just in cloud cuckoo land. So I'll be telling him today politely to get real or go away. But it feels like we're close on two or three at sort of 1.5-ish. It feels to me like we're close with second viewings and interest and stuff. So on the whole, for mid-November, it's all good, really. It's all good. We had our second day of training this week with Michelle and the team. So we're really focusing on the very front end, training on the front end. So the first experience people have when they call the company. We're really focusing on that. It's all very well listing and selling and being great at sales progression. But those, like when the first call comes in, how is it being handled? What are we doing, people, to give them the most amazing experience? So we're focusing on that heavily at the moment to get us started on next year. But on the whole, chaps, it's all good. How about you, JK?
Yeah, do you know, we've had quite a good start to November, to be honest. We've, I think, 8 sales banked at the moment, which is pretty good. We've got a few others in the pipeline. I hear what you're saying about tying things up. I think one of the things that has worked really well in our favour is having those courageous conversations with people and reporting things like, obviously, the base rate cut. But did you see in the news the other day that 6 major lenders have put their rates up?
Yeah.
So I got that article from Sky News, and I was putting it in the groups and just saying, look, although we reported the interest rate, it was cut by the Bank of England, 6 major lenders have put their rates up, and then they're not going to come down anytime soon by the looks of it. So, the market has hardened. And, I guess it's all about establishing motivations for people. If people are motivated to sell and their why, then it's much easier to talk them through the process. For example, we tied one up this week. It's been on the market for about 6 months, around the sort of 800 mark. And the seller was like, look, can't take any less than 850. And I said, well, why is that? I said, you say you can't take any less than 850, but the reality is the market doesn't agree with your price. So the options are we stay on the market and hope the market will rise, which doesn't look like it's going to do anytime soon, or you take it off the market. And he said, well, I can't do that. I said, well, why can't you do that? Well, because I need to buy something else. I need to move, and I've got this basically their personal situation. And I said, well, look, you've got 825 on the table here. So there's a deal here available for you if you want to do the deal. And they were very hesitant at first, but they had a good chat with it. And I said, well, look, ultimately it's there on the table, and it is what you say, Dave. A seller doesn't know what they're going to accept until they actually get a real offer in front of them. And sometimes I think the other thing that we can be guilty of, certainly in the current market, is 2021 and 2022 itis, where deals tie up in a day. I think negotiations, certainly what I'm seeing now, are a lot more protracted. And sometimes it can take up to a week to get a deal done, sometimes 10 days. I mean, but that's the reality of this market. I think sometimes we're too quickly as agents, to poo-poo a deal if it doesn't tie up in 24, 48 hours. We had one in particular where we were currently negotiating on. That was about a 600K mark. Buyer came in at 550. Sellers at more 600. A few days later, all of a sudden we're at 585 and we've got a deal done. I'll say a few days later, a week and a half later, we're at 585. The buyer's gone out and seen other properties. We've explained this to the sellers and said, look, there's more in the market than there has been for the last 10 years. This is what's happening in the market. Your buyer's going to go and see other homes. I think 550 is light, which I thought it was. But what we probably need to do is let them go and see what else is in the market at a similar sort of money. Yes, you're going to have to risk losing them, but to be honest, at 550, we don't have them at the moment. So let them go and see what else is out there. And then I've said to them, go and see the other houses, come back to us. And then, you obviously clearly like this one because to make an offer on it, then we can talk about a deal. And we struck a deal at 585. I wouldn't say everyone's happy, but I think everyone feels like they've come out with a fair outcome. The seller feels like they've moved a bit, the buyer feels like they've moved a bit, but ultimately everyone moves on. And it's just, I guess, just having those conversations with people. I do find, the second-hand stock that we're getting hold of at the moment, we're moving on quite easily. And it's just because people aren't having pricing conversations with people.
Yeah.
Dropping it to the next band, offers over. There's a few deals we've done in recent weeks that we've dropped it to the next price band, did 7 or 8 back-to-back viewings, and it's sold. So, the market is what you make it. And I think from my time at Countrywide, having those weekly updates and, making sure people are realistic and informed in the market will ultimately will drive your result for the month. But that was a really long-winded way of saying that having quite a decent month so far on sales. We've signed up 8 as well in the last week, which is pretty good. Varying in price. I mean, they're not all big uns. We've got 300 to 800 to 1.5. There's a good spread in there, and they're all really good sale level instructions. So, David, how has your week been, pal?
Challenging, I have to say. Bit deflated yesterday. I was telling you before I came on. Had a sale that's likely to be falling through. I've had a message this morning just to speak to the owner this morning about next steps. But we've had got one client who was buying it who said he didn't need to sell his own property to buy it. We've verified it all. His funds were there, and last minute, he's changing his mind, saying no, mine has to sell. Yeah, exactly. So it's frustrating, really frustrating, because as the person that then has to deliver that news to the vendor when you've set it all up, and it's ready to go, you feel like you lose a bit of face, don't you? She's dead good. She understands. She's really happy with us and everything that we're doing. But she's a really strong, level-headed Irish woman. She's great. And she doesn't hold back with her words. And she was she was articulating it very well last night, how she feels about this guy. And she's lost faith in him. So I think even if he sells his property now in the next few weeks, she will walk away. She will not sell to him. That's how she feels. So that was a bit of a deflation yesterday. And sales are challenging for me at the minute. I'll be dead honest with you. I was really struggling to tie deals up. People messing around over little bits of what we would consider to be inconsiderable amounts on the numbers that we're talking. But a lot of it is down to sometimes they can't find stuff. Challenging. Positives are I've been to, we're listing a good couple of houses this week, although overall instruction numbers are quite low, lower than we would normally want them to be. And I've been to some really good valuations. So the one thing I would say is I've been going to quite a lot of good valuations over the last sort of 3 to 6 months. But even in this last week, the diary's healthy, really healthy, and I'm going to things. And it's just a case of people wanting to have them photographed at different times of year. And, I went to one the other day where they said, this is not a winter house, this is a spring house. That's how they feel about it. They really want to show off the garden and stuff like that. So as long as I keep in touch with these people and, they love what we do, I think that, future months will be good. But yeah, overall, I'll be honest, a challenging week, the typical roller coaster of a estate agency. But the good thing is, every day is a new day, isn't it? You just go again. You got to keep going again. So yeah, that's me. And I think, Jake, I was just picked up on something before when you were talking. To me, I remember working through the last recession, and it was 2007-8, obviously, when the shit hit the fan. And the 2 years after that were very, very difficult times in the property industry. So, there was so much overpriced stock that was no longer relevant to that market. Now, I know we're not in a recession, but I feel that the market has that feel at the moment a little bit in some ways with the amount of overpriced stock. And it's going to take a few sales in certain areas to really kickstart the market again. Because even yesterday, I'm doing a valuation where the house is probably 750 to 800. It's on a really great street, a really popular area, 750 to 800. And, got the iPad out, got all the data, and all the data suggests close to 8. And she's previously been on the market at 850 and not sold in like 2021, 2022, by the way. So showing her all the data, showing her other properties. She's literally looking at the properties on my iPad. These are live that are not selling. They've got dates on them: April, still sold, reduced, unsold, and all that. And she was your typical. Oh yeah, well that one's needs a bit of work. Oh yeah, and that one's got a bit of a smaller garden than ours. You could see where it was going.
Did the builder build hers for herself?
Yeah. And she was one of those as well, by the way. I feel bad saying all this, but when you walk around, she goes, yeah, so this is the lounge over there. You've got light switches on that wall, and that wall. That's a radiator, that's a radiator. And over there, that's a fireplace. And that was in every room. Oh, my God. She even opened the wardrobes. And she went, I've got my frocks in this side. Yeah, all my golfing gear in this one. And then over here, I've got my coats and stuff. Jim has all his shoes in that cupboard. I'm like, oh, my God, this is painful. So just show me that front cupboard again.
That's 20 grand. Really, that's definitely 20 grand on that price.
Yeah, exactly. So it was one of them. And then we got to it. And we said, right, so you can see where I'm going, can't you, with all the data and all that sort of stuff. So, where do you think yours sits? You've got 850. I went, oh, right. So 50 grand more than that one that's been on the market for 8 months and is almost identical to yours in size. It's unbelievable. So I feel like we're in that market, and it's going to take, like, for example, with that one, it's going to take a house to sell at 750 for everybody to go, right, that's the price. And my tip for anybody going into next year in particular is to really get good at offers over. Because I'll never forget in 2009-10, it was an absolute godsend for us. There was so much sticky stock in the area with the likes of, we used to be up against Bridgeford's, a lot of countrywide estate agents and things like that, local agents, and just still going in telling clients what they wanted to hear. And at the time, I was operating in the mid-range of the market, but I really do believe it's applicable across it all. And the conversations that we were having, I know we'd mentioned it on the podcast before, was, obviously understanding people's circumstances, but just forcing them outside the comfort zone, getting them to think differently. Those conversations where we're saying, hypothetically speaking, would you, if I got you an offer, if it's a £500,000 house, say, hypothetically speaking, I've got an offer tomorrow at 450, are you taking it? No. 460, no. 470, honestly. bearing in mind what you've just told me, you want to get onto your next house. Are you taking 470? Oh, yeah, probably, Dave. Probably. Right, I've got a different strategy altogether for you. Because especially if you know it's not worth 500,000, then your strategy, it needs to be, bear with me, let me just talk you through this new strategy I've got for you.
Dave, this one I mentioned at the start is exactly a great example of that. So this house was on at 1.25 with the previous agent. Like data is 950 to a mil. So way overpriced. And I had a real battle on my hands getting him to go on 1 million. He wants to go on 1,050,000 just because he wants 1,050,000 for it. That's the only reason. He really wants to go on 1,050,000, hedging his bets. So you've got to go on at offers over 1 million. So I talked him through the whole thing. Bearing in mind the data says 950 to a mil. A mil was too much. But got him to go on at a mil. We've had, 8 viewings. No offers, apart from a guy last week who thought it was worth 950. That guy's not far off really. So we told the seller that. And the guy had also done a pound per square foot analysis in the village. He'd looked at 3 or 4 that had sold. He'd gone, this got this, this got this. There's no way this is worth a mil. Sent that to the seller. Seller wasn't happy, but, we're just telling you, we're just reporting the market, blah, blah, blah. Offer of 1 million yesterday on it, another party. 1,050,000 in. I said, well, we need to counter. We need to go back and say, look, we need to counter the offer. So I actually counted at 1,050,000. The guy said, no chance. I'm not going over 1 million. He messaged me last night, the guy, to say, I'll go to 1,010,000 just for my family's sake. I thought, right, we're nudging here. So I reported it to the seller. I'm going to let the buyer actually call me again last night after I'd said no to the 1,010,000. He's not called me back yet. But I'm going to see what he does. And the seller, I'm educating the seller, aren't I, to where the actual price point is for this house.
Yeah, exactly.
Not 1,050,000.
I've had one. I've got one very similar. So she was on the market 3 years ago. 3 years ago, bear in mind what at the times that we're in, at 950, and she's tried a couple of agents at that time as well, and she was not getting any offers even at that level, sort of 950. She was getting around 900. I believe she said she did have a 950, but circumstances changed. And then I went to see her at the beginning of the year. We talked about the data. It was 950 to a mil, and that's where you're at. Beautiful house, really beautiful period home. And she is motivated because she does need to sell. But we did everything on the basis of the valuation. And when he came to it, she said, David, I've changed my mind. I need to do 1.1. I'm like, oh, my God. 1.1. So, obviously, reluctantly, we had to do it because we've done everything. We've put it on, and she's actually had quite a lot of interest. The previous marketing from the other agents was really bang average. There was no video, there was no drone shots on this massive plot, all that sort of stuff, as you'd expect. So we've got loads of people through the door. Anyway, I've got her 1 million. I've got her 1 million, and I'm like, oh my God, it is a brilliant offer. Brilliant offer. I need 1,025,000.
Do you know what? This particular client in question, they're frustrated, don't they? I thought they were they told me this client of mine, the 1,010,000 one, they told me they were downsizing back to Tarpley. So that's what I've always had in my head. Anyway, this week they've requested to view on with us at 1.65. Oh. But clearly they've got way more budget than I ever thought. What are we doing fanning around over 20 grand? Yeah. You know what I mean? Accept the fucking offer. It's been on the market 6 months. Interest rates, the mortgage rate's just gone up, John. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, John.
Don't mess around.
Yes, John. But I think it's about what JK touched on before, delivering that news. I mean, the news that's just come out is really deflating for estate agents as well. I think the mortgage rates dropping is a really good thing. I think we were all saying if that happens, then it could open the floodgates a little bit, inject energy into the market. Yeah. But budget comes first. National insurance rises ridiculous amounts. And obviously capital gains tax, all that sort of stuff. National minimum wage we knew was going up anyway, but it's more that NI, that was really planted on people.
Mate, I think you just need to get ahead of it, because I think there'll be a lot of people that sat there, a lot of agents that sit there and let the market happen to them, and they'll sit there and they'll go, "Well, it's quiet and it's Christmas."
Yeah, 100%.
When the reality is, it's not Christmas yet. We're still busy. We've still got stuff happening, and you just need to be able to, almost grab the market by the balls and just say, "Look, this is what you need to do if you want to get sold."
You've got to find the motivated ones, JK.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Exactly.
Because the fact is, though, it's a major shift. The national insurance thing going up. I was with a friend last night who's also a client, and he owns is a shareholder in a big finance firm, and overnight, his national insurance bill has just gone up £500,000 a year. It's unbelievable.
But what sort of money is he turning over, though? We're not talking about a business that does $100,000 a year.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It has major effects across the board, that on small business, medium businesses, and large businesses like his. It's not even that. It's not even the cost. What they will then have to do is start charging more.
That's it. Exactly. That's just what I was about to say.
Ultimately, that's the knock-on effect to the consumer then. Massive.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And that's exactly what I was going to say again, is that Labour scoring own goals left, right and centre.
Yeah.
Because they're going, we'll hit the businesses and we'll make sure that they can pay them more than they deserve. But actually what's always going to happen is, as you just said, Dave, they're going to pass it on to the consumer. Prices will go up and it'll be the consumer ultimately that's hit. So, again, massive own goal from them there. But it is what it is. There'll be people. I had an argument with the barbers the other week. I don't know did I tell you this?
It doesn't surprise me.
Why did I argue in the barbers? Because the guy said to me, well, they're putting national minimum wage up, and my mate who owns his business, he's basically going to go out of business now. He employs 4 people, and it's going to tip him over the edge. I think if you've got to pay somebody £1.20 an hour more, 4 people £1.20 an hour more, and you've got a shit business. That's not a government problem. That's a you problem, mate.
Yeah.
If you're on the edge at £1.20 an hour, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
In the nicest way.
Change your business.
That's a different type of conversation. I think the national minimum wage is not as much of an issue, but the national insurance definitely is, because it wasn't expected and it's hit a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses hard. And it's like you say, JK, most will be able to factor it in. But I think, is it Tesco? Their annual bill, he told me last night, has gone up $1 billion, something like that. Something stupid.
Right, yeah.
And so what are they going to do?
It's really going to affect their profits, though, isn't it? They're going to go out of business.
Yeah. Well, so this is the point, JK. They don't need to do it, but they absolutely will. So that tin of beans that you get at the counter is now going to be £1.20 as opposed to £1.
Yeah.
And it's just going to affect the consumer. It's going to lead to inflation issues. Mm-hmm. And then what they're going to have to do potentially is raise interest rates. So all this talk of potentially dropping the interest rates and keeping them dropping, it may well slow the market down again. And we've got so much unrealistically priced stock on the market. It's just going to keep piling up until you get that one house in the area that sells cheaper, and everybody else has that domino effect. But that's the point I was making. I remember going back to 2009, 2010. It was all about we can't test the market here at the top end. If you test the market at the top end, you are going to be out.
I challenge you slightly on there. If the house is those 1 in 30-year opportunities that comes up on one of the best roads that is super.
Yeah, but you're talking anomalies there.
That is exactly what I was about to say. Like that is the 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000. Like arguably you can, but for your average Joe Bloggs, like you're absolutely right. If it's the same as the subjective part where either the kitchen's slightly better or the garden's slightly better, then no, you can't test the market. But
no, I just don't. I don't think it's not a good strategy at all. Trying to test the market at an inflated price with that mindset of somebody will offer me less. It's absolute bollocks when we're in this market.
It normally doesn't work, does it? No. There aren't many examples where that ever works, is there? Unless you suddenly get lucky, and that's not a strategy, is it?
And like we've talked about it many times, we've all got it. I've got some overpriced stock, and you're working with hopefully motivated vendors, and as long as you're looking after them, they'll stick with you, and eventually they'll sell. So you're always going to take them. Don't get me wrong. The problem is, if as estate agents we're doing it in bulk across the country, it's going to lead to these massive supplies of stock. So to me, people need educating. A lot of areas, if they look closely, will be dropping in value slightly. Again, around my areas, there's anomalies where some have actually risen in value. And there might be reasons behind that. It might be that one of the more expensive areas has become too expensive, so people have started going to the area next door to it, and that's actually started to rise, but the other one started to drop a little bit. We've got a bit of that going on. But overall, it's probably going to start to lead into price drops. So, and people don't realise that because, like JK was talking about before, in those busy times when it's actually really, really busy, the landscape was totally different. It was cheaper to borrow. It's now more expensive to borrow, and it's going to get worse by the sounds of things. So people need to be competitive. To me, If there's a house on the market at 750,000 that's very similar to your own, that's been on for a few months, there is little point in going on the market at 750. You know, I take JK's point. If it's on the best street in the best area and it's got an amazing view and all that, of course. But the majority, that would be better placed at offers over 7. And I think the point I'm making is you've got to get good at having these conversations and making them understand that it's a pricing strategy. I had one yesterday, the same thing. They've been on the market, they've been on for a year, you know, at 570 and 550. And I'm saying it's late fours. It's late fours, at best 5. What's your priority? They're sort of telling me they live in Cornwall half of the year, and then for the other half of the year, they go to Tenerife. They're hardly here. And so they're selling it. It's not, you know, they don't need it. And I'm saying, well, you've been lied to. The prices that you've been told, this is the data. You know, what's your priority? When do you want to be told by? Right, your number's 475 offers over all day long. And that'd be coming down from 550. But they're not getting any viewings testing the market. It's nonsensical. And the reality is that 475 offers over, this house will probably get a load of viewings. And it might well go over 5 because you get that bidding war. We've had one on the lower brand this week at 300,000. It's had 15 viewings and it's sold for 325. You know, it happens. Yeah. It happens at all ends of the market. So I think, like I say, I remember it vividly. We had this. We had the mentality of going out and I'm going to go to every house and I'm going to discuss that strategy with them. I'm looking at the numbers. It's worth, you know, lower end of the market at the time. It's worth 250,000. I'm going to try and get these on at offers over 2. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And I'm going to explain to them why. And as long as you're backing yourself up saying, look, you don't have to do this. It's just a strategy. But imagine people battling against each other to get your price, to get your house. You know, the fear of loss is greater than sometimes the joy of gain. They don't want to lose the property, so they'll pay more for it. So it's important to try and do that. And I think that I feel that's the market that we're in. We're already in it, and I think it's going to continue. And I think that's your challenge. I think if you can master the offers over, I think you'll be a bit more successful.
Cool.
Well said.
Right, shall we get into this week's topic then? Because we had a couple of...
hour.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think there's a lot of value in there because that is what we're talking about is the market. I think we are arguably one of the only agency podcasts in the UK that talks about the market each week. And there was a couple of people that brought it up on the members Zoom actually this week and said that they find the pods valuable each week because it's what's happening in the market. And there's people that are having similar challenges to us each week. So, you know, being able to go away now and go, right, actually what I need to do is talk to sellers about what's happening with the interest rates and the banks in the market. And that's going to help me, A, either tie deals up or B, get prices down. And after the pod today, the three of us are going to sit down together and put a message together for our clients to put out, and also for all the TCA members as well, so they can articulate that to their clients as well. Because, you know, at the end of the day, the data is the data, and, you know, what's in the news is in the news, and that's where people make decisions. So we had a question from one of the podcast listeners who got in touch with us last week. So after the start of the podcast, we actually put the email address out and the Facebook group out, and actually had an email over from somebody. So thank you for your email. So we'll address that now. Ian.
Yeah, so we chatted about this before we came on, didn't we, chap? So this particular agent has a property that they're trying to sell that's had absolutely no viewings whatsoever. Did you say it had been on 4 weeks, a month? I think. Yeah.
Something like that.
I think two months, something like that, yeah.
So they've had absolutely no viewings whatsoever. They sent us the link. It's a really nice house, but it hasn't got a garden. Pretty much got no garden. So this lady was sort of asking us, you know, what can we do? You know, why is it not any interest? What can we do? And one idea that they had that they thought might help would be to try and attract London buyers because it's near a commutable train station. So, what do we think to that, chaps? Dave, what are your thoughts on that strategy?
Diplomatic Dave, jump in, son.
Well, my diplomatic reaction would be these London buyers are a lot of bollocks. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not near London.
It's a buzzword, isn't it? It's a buzzword that people use in
Yeah.
Of course, and clients use it when they're trying to think about using Savills.
I mean,
I get it.
I suppose. Look, I get it around here, and they do feel. The one thing that you probably get as well, Ian, is people are saying to me, can we expand the marketing to target the London market because they're moving over to Media City and stuff?
Yeah,
because Manchester's the new hot hub, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, kind of are targeting the London buyers because it's on Rightmove.
Yeah.
And obviously we talk now about the network of agents that we work with and things like that, and we have social media presence and all that sort of stuff. My view is, look, I think personally there is a certain end of the market where this is relevant. You've got the super prime guys who work in and operate in that market, who sell minimal units a year to billionaires and multi millionaires.
Yeah, and they want complete privacy, complete off market.
Yeah, and they're not
spending 10 million.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily actively looking at that point.
No.
They might get a phone call to say, look, I've just brought on this fantastic property in Notting Hill at 12 million, or there's a great opportunity in Manchester. This is what it is. Is it something you want to try and invest in? Whatever it might be. It's a different market that I'm not involved in, to be quite honest with you. But in my experience, I've done this job a long time, and I don't think I've ever had another agent bring a London buyer after saying they would or anything like that. I think it's nonsensical. The idea of it, I can understand why, if you're good at your job, you could get a seller to buy into it. But ultimately, it's
a great tactic for listing.
Well, look, we used to say, so when I was in corporate, same sort of mentality. We had 10 offices across Greater Manchester, and in particular 3 or 4 in this particular sort of triangle that I worked. And I always used to say to people that I was seeing, like, obviously you'll be on Rightmove, you'll be on Zoopla, you'll be on Prime Location. You've got a fantastic advert in our shop window that everybody's going to see. Yeah. But the beauty is we've got 10 offices across Greater Manchester. So if somebody registers in Stockport, they are going to get shown your property in Walkden. Right?
Yeah.
Wow. So I've got more chance of selling your property because I've got Stockport buyers as well. And inside I'm cringing because I'm thinking it's bollocks.
This is bollocks.
Yeah. The reality is, the buyers that we are dealing with, the majority of them are active and they're looking on Rightmove. Don't get me wrong, you'll have your list of buyers. You'll have your list of buyers. Everybody does. And it's the first thing you do, isn't it? You match it out to your property database. And even when you go to your Barnes and your big executive homes, whatever it might be, when you're walking around it, I'm always thinking, who's buying this? Who have I got for it? Straight away. Yeah. There's always that, of course. But my view is, in reality, and I'm usually quite transparent with this as well, is don't pick an agent just because you've got loads of buyers, including myself. Because if I'm honest with you, a lot of the buyers that I have on my database will also be on my competitors' databases. The secret here is to make sure that you've done incredible marketing, that the house looks the best it can possibly look. It's exposed in all the right areas so that it's getting maximum exposure. And then you've got somebody who is able to negotiate your biggest tax-free asset. That was really important to a client I had yesterday. I won't mention the name of the company, but they are quite well known where we are. And he was sort of saying, every time I ring up, I speak to someone different. And I'm not sure who is actually dealing with mine. The manager of the branch came out originally and valued the house, but I've not spoken to them since. And I said to them at the time, this is the problem with using that type of company, because you might very well get a junior member of staff handling the negotiation of your biggest tax-free asset. And we've spoken about this in the past, but I call them order takers. So I feel it's how you present it to the owner, really. You're always going to come up against this. And we've talked in the past, I think, about problem solving before it becomes a problem. Like if you've got some service level agreement or a client handbook or expectations that talk about the conveyancing process, for example, where these sorts of things might happen along the way, and this is what we'll do to get over these hurdles. Same sort of thing when you're listing a property or you're speaking to your clients. You're going to get letters through your door from other competitor agents. You're going to get people telling you they've got buyers. Well, if they've got buyers, tell them to come to me and we'll split the fee and all that sort of stuff. So, long-winded way of saying, it's going to happen. There's no way of getting around it. It's going to happen. And the owners will think that that's the way. And sometimes all you can do is appease them and maybe even carry out some of these actions to help them understand that's not the answer. Like open days.
Of course, the same, yeah. I think that's all valid and true. I think just bringing it back to the question, the lady specifically who asked the question, I think our answer is that it's nothing to do with London buyers and it can only be something to do with the marketing or the price.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And with the person in question, we know it's not the marketing.
Exactly, yeah, we've seen it. The marketing's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
So ultimately, if it's been sat on the market 2 months and it's not had one viewing, then it will be the price.
Yeah.
So
also, though, can I just say on that, sometimes it's not just the price. Sometimes it's the market. Sometimes it is actually a niche house. So your options are, look, ultimately, you can sell it for a price and somebody will make the compromise on price. But also, if you want the top price for it, you may have to wait it out, But realistically, I think to myself, so I went to a house recently that was compromised, very similar to the one in question. And I didn't want it. I said, I'm probably not the best agent to sell this house. And I talked myself out of it because I knew that, and lo and behold, it's been on the market. I say recently, I went there 4 months ago and it's still on the market now. I didn't want to commit to updating this person every week and saying, do you know what? It's still no one who wants to buy it. Because, arguably, you're right. You can sell it for a price. The pound per square foot, you look at the data, it's worth X amount. But ultimately, it's a niche house. And I think sometimes you have to make a call as a business owner when you're at the property. Can I sell this? And is this something that I'm going to turn around? If you haven't got the stock and you haven't got a lot going on, it's one of them you might take and, roll the dice with. But if you've got a lot going on, it might just be one that you go, do you know what, actually?
I mean, to be honest, that was part of what I was thinking as well. I was thinking, well, I probably wouldn't have taken it on in the first place. But I do understand that if you're trying to grow in a certain market, you might take a listing because you've got a bit more time on your hands to service these clients. We had one this week. I've got one this week around the corner in a good village. I know I could get it. It's on with another agent. They want to buy one off us. And I could definitely get that one on the market. But it's the same situation. It's no back garden. And the market for that is just tiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
There isn't really a market for it. You just got to get lucky or slash the price. And I've just said to the guy, we're not the right agent for you. Yeah. You don't need it, But I do understand that when you're starting off and maybe trying to grow a sales division, it's a bit different.
Can I say as well, it's a really good point, just on that dead quick, sorry, because it's the same topic. I do think it's important that a strategy, because you sometimes forget when you get invited out to a valuation, there is no obligation for you to take it on. Just because you've been invited out to it and you're an estate agent, if you've got to go and spend a couple of grand on the marketing and you're not confident it'll sell, at the end of the day, you're a business owner, you're a small business owner.
Yeah, it's a time drain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, is this particular agent much better off sacking that client off and spending all this time prospecting for new business?
Yeah.
Because there'll be loads of properties on the market in their town, like there is in every single town, that are overpriced and underserviced.
100%.
So maybe get rid of that client and go and spend your time on properties that will sell, where you can get a price change and a better fee.
Yeah, but as JK said as well, there will be the odd house where it is very, very unique.
Yeah, and do you want it then?
Yeah,
It depends on what it is.
Exactly. I've had one this year, and it has literally had one viewing, and they have bought it. But we knew that would be the case, and there's a reason we took it on anyway. But it's under normal circumstances, a bit out of area, stuff like that, very unique. You might not do, and like you say, we've all taken them on where we just wait to get those stock levels up, or it's a nice house on a certain street, whatever, get a board up. Yeah. But I do think you can be choosy sometimes if you're not confident, because what's the point if you're not sure it's going to sell? If they're completely unrealistic on price, or it's so unique that you don't think you're going to get many viewers. Yeah, I think there's an argument to say walk away, and how you put it there, just saying I don't think we're quite the right agent for you.
No, we've not got the right buyers for you. Sorry.
Recommend someone else. I think that's a good way of getting
But I think, just going back to the question again, it's nothing to do with London buyers. I don't think it's anything to do with London buyers. It's to do with the market, like you said, JK, or the price.
But we all know that. I think anybody in the industry knows that. And sometimes they just won't have the conversation with the vendor. The problem is, though, it's like I say, you need to be seen to be doing everything you possibly can. And as long as you've done that, and there might just be that element of doubt with that particular vendor. So, you know, if it is that, at the end of the day, when you're part of the TCA, you're part of a large network anyway of agents across the country that you can promote the property to. You can tell people that. We all realise that, my buyers are not going to buy JK's properties and vice versa. But sometimes they need to hear it. It's like open days, like I said, touched on before. We know open days ain't going to do a thing, especially if the price doesn't change anyway, for sure.
Well, I had this conversation, just on open days quickly. I had this conversation with one of my clients, and they said to me, look, shall we try an open day? And I said, but the thing is, we're not getting any viewings. An open day, people aren't all of a sudden going to look at the advert and go, oh, do you know what? It's an open day. The price isn't an issue anymore. Open day is a load of rubbish. It is all about the price. And if you change, absolutely right what you just said, Dave. If we change the price and we go, and again, this worked for one of the houses I had before, was it last year? We were on at 1.25, wasn't getting any traction. They said, look, we need to do an open day. They said, we want to do an open day. I said, well, look, we're going to do an open day. I said, we'll do an open day, but we need to do offers over 1.15. Need to change the price, do an open day, get the best buyers through. And we did that. We did a viewing day. And it's basically what I would have done anyway, because I would have blocked the viewers together, but it just appeased the client. So we did offers over 1.15. We got 3 people in back to back, and we sold it. But I think, it wasn't the open day, it was the price.
Yeah, of course. And we're not really going off piste here. It's the principle. It's exactly the same, because that'll be the next suggestion, won't it? Well, could we try? What about the London buyers? Right? Can we try an open day? And it's just how you articulate it and get it across. But you've also just got to be straight honest.
I've got an idea. Why don't we launch, and I'm not sure this has been done before, an open day exclusively for London buyers? Has anyone ever done that before?
That's a great idea.
It's a great idea. You heard it here first, everyone.
But jokes aside, if you presented that to the vendor, they go, "That is a brilliant idea."
With the right property, it would.
Yeah, and then you go, no, but even without being the right property, as long the vendor will just go, well, James, yeah, that sounds fantastic. Okay. So you advertise it, no one turns up. You say, there you go, we've done it. The London buyer thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
The whole point is they sometimes just need to know.
Yeah.
And this is where we pick up listings, lads. From people that are on with other agents. Like, how will you know that your house has had a proper good go? Because at the moment, your photography is average. You've not got a video. You don't seem to have any social media presence. You've not got any twilight photography. So that's how I win instructions. How will you know? But it's also how I keep them. When we say, you've got everything. You're on these major websites. And then obviously the next challenge is if they've got London buyers, these other agents, tell them to bring them across and we'll split the fee and all that sort of stuff. So it's just how you present it. And then 99 times out of 100, it's a pricing issue.
One thing that you've just said that I'm going to pick up on, I realise we're near the end, is we've got a house at the minute. It's over 1.5 mil. It's a lovely house. It's not selling because of the proximity of a neighbouring property. That's why it's not selling. It would have sold immediately had it not been for that. Loads of viewings. It's the same feedback every time. Sellers down in the dumps. I said, well, we've just got to keep going and find the right person that will buy it with that. But a month ago, she said, I've got another agent that's contacted me who's got a global presence. They were the words. I said, oh, brilliant. Have you? That's great. Our global presence. Fantastic.
What's their name? Rightmove.
Yeah. I said, well, we've got a global presence because of Rightmove. Funny enough, the person who's selling this house actually bought it off us and they came from abroad. So I said, well, you bought it off us and you were living abroad. So, But what I did say to them was, speak to the agent with global presence, send him some buy. And if he brings buyers, I will give him part of our fee. I'll give him half our fee if he brings me a buyer that buys it. That's no problem. Guess what? Not happened.
No way.
Yeah, he's not got any buyers. I know you can't believe it, can you? But my point is to stop people changing agents. Don't try and dismiss those other agents that are telling them these things. Bring them into the party. Bring them in.
All right.
Bring them with
you.
Right,
mate.
I'll cut your fee, no problem whatsoever. I've done it twice now, and no one's come along. You bring your global buyers, and I'll give you half the fee. The other thing to say is, if you're on a good fee, 2%, 1.75, 1. Whatever. If it's a good fee, especially north of $1 million, you're still getting 10 grand if it sells.
Yeah.
With the other agent.
And the kudos of selling the
and
listing.
The kudos
as well.
of selling it. So bring them into the party. Don't dismiss them, because that's when you'll lose clients.
No. But then also, if they're buying, get the onward neg the other side as
exactly,
well.
Yeah, of course.
There's always ways to do it, but you're absolutely right, mate. And we do it all the time. Destroy the other agents. And when I say destroy the other agents, just destroy. When I say destroy, I mean destroy their credibility. Because the amount of times where
rubbish
people are selling, we've got buyers. And the sellers go to me, well, I'm spoken to such and such, and they've got a buyer. Great news. Well, look, let's just split the fee. We're charging you £14,500 here. I'll go 50-50 with them.
Yeah.
All they've done is introduce the buyer, and we'll get you moved.
We'll manage it for you, Mr. Smith. We'll manage it.
They don't. They said they don't want to do that. Why don't they want to do that?
Why not?
They don't exist.
I had one recently. Another example recently. Sorry, I'm talking £5 million house in a desirable South Manchester suburb. Nice. He can't sell it. Not easy to sell. And I spoke to his mate whose house we sold. He said, I've been trying to put you forward to my mate for this house. It's got to be with Jackson Stops and Savills and all those boys, because they've got all the buyers. They've got all the buyers that are going to buy it. And I said, well, two things. A, it hasn't sold. It's been on the market 6 months. Where are the buyers? Yeah. B, why don't you tell him, you keep it with that agent, but get it off market, offline. I'll put it on the market for you on the internet.
Yeah.
And we'll do a dual approach.
Yeah.
So with our marketing and his London buyers, we'll sell it, won't we, John?
Yeah.
It's bollocks.
Yeah. It's all it is just marketing spin. But it works well for them. But the thing is, as long as you know how to destroy their offering, then don't be afraid of like you say, embracing it.
Yeah.
Because as long as a client knows that you've got their best intentions at heart, that's all that matters. The amount of times we've it is what it is. Anyway,
the one thing just on that, I just think that the key thing takeaways for me for people there would be, one, London buyers are bollocks, but like you've said, accept it. Don't be defensive.
Yes,
take it in stride.
Accept it
and be confident with your response. And like you said, Ian, I like that. That's brilliant news, John. Great news. If they've got buyers,
how exciting.
Blah blah blah. Explain it like that. But equally, I think the other thing that you can do is get ahead of the game. And
thinking ahead of a head.
Yeah. Sorry, there was a distraction then on the screen. Get ahead of the game. Anticipate what's going to happen. So I think client handbooks or expectations, as set the expectations for the client. So we do it with everything else. If you think about it, we're saying, right, this is what's going to happen. Brilliant. You're coming on the market with us now. What's going to happen next? You're going to get a phone call from our home stylist. We're then going to book in photography and videography on the day. So we're setting expectations for everything else. So once they're on the market, set the expectations for what's going to happen. So it might be if yours are like once a week, I'm going to check in with you on a Monday. It might not be a direct phone call, but I'll drop you a message with an update, letting you know how the market's going to be. That's one. The next might be, right, after 4 weeks, we're going to have a proper run through on a call, whether it's a Zoom call or whatever it might be, and we're going to go through all the stats. 8 weeks, it might be another thing, whatever it might be. And then, by the way, what you are going to get, particularly around that 8-week mark, when it's perceived to have become a little bit stale by some, is you're going to get letters landing on your doorstep.
Yeah.
And you're going to get agents contacting you, maybe that you dismissed originally, who are going to contact you and say, we've got buyers waiting. That is going to happen.
Yeah.
So when that situation plays out, they can say, guess what, Ian?
It's happened.
Estate agents called me. They're telling me they've got buyers. Brilliant news, John. As I said to you, if they've got buyers, tell them to bring them to me. Happy to collaborate with them, get a fee split involved. They don't even have to do it. They don't have to lift a finger with work. All they have to do is take the client to the house.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what you need to do.
I don't even think they've got to take the client to the house. I think they just give you the details.
Yeah, give you the details.
We'll do the viewing, John.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll cut them in.
It's definitely it's a good point about putting it in the client handbook. We're developing a client handbook at the minute, and it's a good point about writing that into the thing at the start.
Yeah, as a process. The process is
this is the process.
It is. Yeah. You're going to get contacted by other agents. It's going to happen. You're going to get probably promises. 4 or 5 letters every few weeks.
Yeah.
And anybody that you've valued and you dismissed, they'll be coming back to you in a few months saying, "Oh, I noticed Stories haven't sold that property still. You know, do you want to have a change?"
Yeah.
You know, you will know that as long as your marketing's great and you're in all the right areas, and we're constantly keeping in touch with you, and that's not to be underestimated, John. Communication, because it's the biggest reason people leave agents. You're in great hands. So, but if they genuinely have a buyer, I'm not going to dismiss them or discredit that agent. That's great news. Bring them to me, and we'll collaborate, and we'll offer a percentage of our fee to them.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there we go.
Seems like a good place to leave it then this week. We've obviously got Mastermind happening in 3 weeks now. So really looking forward to that. The planning, I've actually got my time set aside to finish off the 2025 plan and 2024 data next week. So be interesting to. I actually had a quick sift through some of the numbers, which is quite interesting because it does keep you accountable and tell you. And we've got Street, so the numbers are always fairly available and in front of us. But what I have found interesting by just having a quick play with the sheet is, you know, how the sort of peaks and troughs affect the market.
No, it's very important. Yeah, so we're going to run through that, aren't we, with all of our members in 3 weeks, and then help them grow next year, improve those numbers next year. Well, I think that wraps it up quite well, chaps. We hope that was useful to all of our listeners.
Yep. And we are obviously always looking for more members. The mastermind now, we've closed off. We're at full capacity for all members and new joiners. But if you are interested in coming to the next mastermind, which will be in March, then do get in touch. But also we are obviously bringing out our market update in December very shortly as well, which will be one of the busiest ones of the year. Which always
I'm always excited for that one.
The thing is, last year, that one we did, that set me out of the blocks really, really nicely last year. And I just think it's a great opportunity to get ahead of everyone else. All those people that are concentrating on their direct mail and other sort of programs for sort of springtime, you're ahead of the curve. You're already speaking to people, and you can come out of the blocks in January with some great listings. And
I do think just quickly, and on that, if you listen to the pod and you have been on the fence about joining, or you are thinking about joining, without trying to sound too salesy here, that would be an unbelievable time to do it, because all these challenges that we're talking about right now in the market that are going to affect us and everybody else around the country, you know, we're setting ourselves up to be ready for them, essentially. And that will be a big, big factor on that letter going out in the new year, trying to educate the market. I've been to most of my valuations this week have been noms, not on the market letters, and they have had several of them and are always interested in what they say, and they just see me as an authority as soon as I go through the door.
Honestly, me and Philip into one this week, 6,000 square feet, swimming pool, really desirable village, dead near a really top independent school, 1.82 mil. Been reading our letters for 3 years. He actually said to me, I bin all the other agents' letters. I get letters from everyone, and I bin them. I only read.
They don't get letters, do they? A lot of the time, it's not a letter. It's
it's a flyer. Yeah, well,
valuation.
Of course, it's just what he said, and that's what he meant, isn't it? And he bins them. He only reads ours. And I reckon I'd be amazed if we don't get that. They were dead keen, dead impressed, and that's off the back of our not on the market letters. And then the second thing to say is that we are having a new website done. So currently, the only way to contact us is to email us or send us a message on social. Yeah. If you send us a message via the podcast, we won't get it or we can't reply, and the website is being redone. So the email address is succeed@thecompleteagent.co.uk, or you can send us a message on social media, and obviously we'll come back to you. Or you could contact us via our estate agencies as well. There's ways to contact us if you want a further chat.
Yeah. I'd just say as well, I think it's good to get across. There is a free tier of membership coming soon for the Complete Agent. So if you're interested in that, then reach out to one of us directly before we launch it live. And we will let you know what that's all about. There we go. Right, well, good place to call it. Hope you had a good week, lads. And I will look forward to catching up with you at the same time next week.
Cheers, fellas. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks, lads. Bye.